are African. We got African blood. Even I'm light, I got a light skin, even you got a black skin, you know. But we are from Africa.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that look like you in Africa. You know, one thing people don't understand outside of Africa, people that are not Africans and are not, that they've never been to the continent, they think to be an African you have to have a dark skin
Uh,
or be, you know, ugly.
South Africa, there's people that more like than me.
Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Burrs or Belly Dirt Stranad. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. So lovelies, I'm gonna be your today's host, and I have so many stitches to put up here, and we're gonna come out to talk about it. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
Not every light-skinned African is mixed. I was having a conversation with one of my Congolese brothers, and he was basically saying, have you heard that they're saying light-skinned Africans aren't Africans? I was like, hold on. Some people genuinely believe that light-skinned Africans only exist because of European rape. And let's acknowledge those systems, those very violent systems did happen. And y'all need to stop giving credit to the Europeans for something that was around way before they even touched African soil. So let's talk a few facts. The Fulani people in the West, light brown, angular faces, natural beauty, indigenous, Eritreans, Ethiopians, Somalians. Just go look at how they look. They're indigenous to Africa. They're not European. They're not Arabians. They're, say with me, thank you. The gene for both light-skinned and dark-skinned people originated in, good job. So let that sink in. Africa holds the blueprint for all skin tones. For any light-skinned Africans, if you're questioning your identity because you are light-skinned, don't absorb that. And even if you are mixed, it's okay. Africa is not one look, one language, or one shape. It's a whole spectrum. The mother of all humanity.
I didn't know I wasn't dark skinned until I went to Nigeria. And before y'all crucify me, hear me out, please. Obviously, I've always known there are people who are shades darker than me, but in America growing up, everybody under a certain color was just dark skinned. Like you were just dark skinned, or you were yellow, you were red bone, or you were yellow bone. So I spent my entire life saying I'm dark skinned. I went to Nigeria, and that was the first time I went there, and I kept saying I was dark skinned to people, and all my friends who were like from the south, from like Biosa or Delta State, they would laugh at me. They're like, "You're not fucking dark skinned. You look like an Igbo man," as you guys all know from my last video. And I'm like, I had no idea what that meant. When I was at my friend's wedding in 2022, and we were in Warri, we had a conversation at her father's house, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm dark skinned," and they were like, "You're medium tone," and I was like, "What the fuck is medium tone?" I've never heard that phrase in my life, and it just amazes me that where we are in the world, it depicts how you see yourself and how others see you, and what your color, quote unquote, is. But yeah, I learned in Nigeria that even this last trip, I was talking to 3 Igbo people, and they were talking about like skin tones, and they were like, "Yeah, you know, our skin tone," and I was like, "Our skin tone? Like I don't know. I think we're all black." But there's more diversity because of everybody's black. There's different layers to it. Do you guys agree with me? All the people who grew up in America, like I just feel like you were either high yellow, red bone, or dark skin. I never got called brown skin growing up.
So I was in a live earlier, and they were having a conversation about whether mixed people and light-skinned people are considered black. Now I was in the comments genuinely like asking, like, I completely understand, you know, the conversation of whether or not someone considered mixed people, meaning someone with one black parent and one non-black parent, as black or not. I can understand that argument. Me personally, if you have a black parent, you black to me. That's just me. Now they kind of lost me at the argument whether light-skinned people in general like are black, cause I'm light-skinned, obviously, and I'm 100% black. Like 2 black parents, 4 black grandparents. So like, I don't understand how someone could argue like, oh, because you're light, you're not black. Like, what? And then I have two adopted brothers who are both mixed, white moms, ironically. I only say ironically because there's a whole conversation going on here now about mixed people with white moms versus black moms. That's a conversation for a whole nother story. But they are both mixed, and I'm lighter than both of them. So it's like, I don't understand if y'all want to argue about them, whether they black or not. Y'all have at it. But because I'm lighter than them, you would try to argue that I'm not black too, even though I'm 100% black. Like, that just, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I'm just curious to know y'all thoughts on that conversation. Like, and is it more so have, like, to do with genetic makeup or, like, literal, like, skin tone and skin color? Like, I don't know. I just know one thing. Seth O'Brien Green is black. 100%.
The joke in the black community is, you know, none of us are black. If you go to Africa and then come back to the United States and look at a black person, even in Africa, a friend of mine went to Africa. He's black. He's light skinned like me. He went there to preach at this in the Congo somewhere, and the guy got up and said, "Now today we have a white man who will come and preach to you." And he goes, "White man? Listen to that."
Where's the white man?
But literally, I'm considered white in Africa.
Yeah.
One thing about a black American that traveled to Africa then went on a podcast to retell or relive their story is that they will lie, they will add spices into their story, because there's no way this man came to Africa and he was mistaken for a white person unless he went to a remote village somewhere in Central Africa or Northern Africa where there are no mixed people at all. Then I know for a fact that that story is a lie. We could literally take this man, throw him into Aldo's, and no one will even think that he's a white person. Unless he starts talking, no one will even think that he's American. We don't even need to put him in Aldo's because there are lighter people than him in Aldo's. We can drop him in CBD, even in Soweto, and we just think he's just another black uncle. He's light skinned by default. And notice how they were using pictures of only dark African people as reference, as if the whole entire Africa, 2 billion people, consists of only dark skinned people. Africa has the full spectrum of what black people are. We have the darkest shades, people so dark they almost navy blue. We have the lightest shades of black people, people so light they almost white. If you put on a straight weave, they could pass. But then we can tell that they're black by the texture of their hair. These people have 4C, not even 4C, I'm just going to say 5C, because what 4C is in America and what 4C is in Africa is two completely different things. But we're not talking about hair today. Now, his story is slightly believable due to the fact that unlike in America where you have the one drop rule, doesn't matter what you are mixed with, as long as there's a droplet of black, you can call yourself black. In Africa, we do tend to refer to people who are mixed by whatever other race they are mixed with. And this is not law. This is not to say that we don't acknowledge that you are black. It's more like humor, you know, like light humor. Trevor Noah will probably tell you that he was referred to as Umlungu growing up. It's not to say that the people he grew up with didn't know that his mom was black. It's just acknowledging his other side of the family, his other race. And like I said, this man's story is slightly believable. Like, I'll choose to believe him. I went into the comments, and there was one woman who said she went to Nigeria, guys, not even Sudan, not even Nigeria. And in Nigeria, she was mistaken for a white person. I'm going to show you this woman's picture in a second, and you tell me, if you saw this woman on the side of the road, would you mistaken this person for a white person? Let's not even say a white person, a mixed person. Not even a mixed person. Would you call them a yellow bone? That's what I want to know.
I was at a party in South Africa. I was at the Everyday People party in Johannesburg, to be specific. And the amount of sheer genetic diversity in that room should have been studied. I sat down with this Zulu girl and we were just talking about all the different people that we had met since being at this party. Like, not only were there tons of people just like who were South African, but like I met like 10 other African Americans there, Kenyans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Afro-Latinos. Like, there was, the entire diaspora was present. And I was looking around the room and I was like, oh my gosh, we are such a diverse conglomeration. Like, what we call black people is insane how diverse we are. There were people who were literally 7 feet tall. There were people who were like 4 feet tall on a good day. Every skin complexion, every set of features you could ever imagine was present in that room. And if I have pictures, I will post it. But like, literally, you guys, Black people's diversity is we really don't give it enough credit. And when it actually leaves me without words because it is insane. Like, I was walking in this room and I was like, every type of Black person that I could imagine existing is like here in this room right now. And we had a great time, y'all. Like, gay people was there, straight people was there, non-binaries was there, all the trans people was there. Like, no issues, nothing bad, nobody got shot at, there was no fighting, nothing. It was just a great time, and we danced all night. And I'm like, this is the secret. Like, this is the secret to like Black success. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but our power is in our diversity, and it's in our ability to come together despite being the most diverse people on the planet. In fact, all the other people combined could not even make up a single corner. Like, they would not be able to touch the sheer phenotypal or genetic diversity that was present in that room in Johannesburg on a random ass Saturday night. And like, it was all love. Like, you have people who have no reason to get along with each other, but we all were able to come together and just have a vibe and just party and have a great time. And there's no way that those people didn't know that when they met us, that the only way they could destroy us was through separating us, was through creating division. Like, our superpower is that all of us are so different from each other, and yet we all have a common accord. We all have a common will. Like, we are able to do it. Like, Africa was by and large a very peaceful continent for hundreds of thousands of years, y'all. And today we have this idea of there being like constant war and all of this like scarcity, all of which is manufactured by our enemies. But we as people, we as Black people, were able to take the most disparate people and find peace. Like, even today in many parts on the continent, you'll have people who are different religions, Christian, Muslim, and traditionalists, who all live within the same block and they get along fine. That's a superpower. Even I think the fact of like, the reason why like Martin Luther King Jr. and like Nelson Mandela were so powerful is because they were speaking from the truest part of Blackness, which is fundamentally unity. It's unity and diversity. And our enemy's entire shtick, the entire shtick of white supremacy, of capitalism, of fascism, of all of these things is disunity, is disharmony, is sowing seeds of hatred amongst us. So I just need us to really lock in. I need us to lock in. Because we are too beautiful and we are too diverse to turn on each other, to continue falling victim to propaganda designed to destroy us. It's not just designed to separate us. Y'all think y'all are so smart. Talk about what is so wrong with Black Americans differentiating ourselves. Do you know they're doing the same thing in South Africa, trying to convince Black South Africans to turn on other Africans, on other Black Africans in their country? You know they're doing the same thing in Sudan, in Congo, and convincing you that the brother and sister who shares everything with you, who shares commonalities with you, who you are more alike than you are unalike to, that convincing you that that is your enemy, that you have irreconcilable differences. None of our differences are irreconcilable. None of them. If people could go through quite literal genocides and find reasons to find common ground with one another, which is what literally happened in Rwanda, we can overcome a couple of negative comments between each other. Black people are incredibly diverse. We are the most diverse people on the planet. But that is not a reason for us to turn on each other. That is a reason for us to come together. I don't expect you to be just like me, and I don't need you to be just like me. All I need is for us to be on one accord for a moment in time. Just like that party in Johannesburg.
Not every light-skinned Africa is mixed. That is the sentence that seems to break the internet every few months. You will see someone say it in a video, and before they can even finish, the comments are already filled with people arguing. No, they must have European blood. But if we slow down for a moment, if we breathe and actually think about Africa, the scale of it, the history of it, the climate, and the sheer diversity of its people, it becomes almost ridiculous how small and boxed in that idea really is. Let's begin here. There are light-skinned Africans whose families have lived on the continent for thousands of years, untouched by colonial mixture, untouched by modern migration. They are indigenous, ancient, and genetically African through and through. But somewhere along the way, through centuries of colonial distortion and Western misunderstanding, we were taught to associate lighter skin with foreignness. We were told lightness meant whiteness and darkness meant authenticity. That is a lie that colonization planted deeply in all of us, both in Africa and in the diaspora. Now, I was having a conversation with a colonialist brother the other day, and we were talking about this very thing. He said, "Have you seen those people online saying light-skinned Africans aren't Africans?" And I laughed, not because it's funny, but because it's sad how loud ignorance can be when it gets Wi-Fi. The internet has given everyone a megaphone, even those who have never opened a history book, but this conversation reveals something deeper, not just confusion about skin tone, but confusion about identity itself. And in the black world, identity is never just about skin, it's about belonging, validation, and power. So let's unpack this. Scientifically speaking, Africa holds the blueprint for all skin tones. Every shade, from the deepest ebony to the palette brown, originated on that continent. Millennial expression, the thing that gives us our tone, evolved based on geography, sunlight, and environmental adaptation over tens of thousands of years. Meaning, light skin didn't arrive with Europe, it existed before Europe as we know it even formed. Let's take the Fulani people in West Africa, known for their soft, golden brown complexion, high cheekbones, and fine features. They have existed for centuries, nomadic, indigenous, and Africa, or look at the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, regions where you find light brown and golden skinned Africans with long histories, distant languages, and genetics rooted in Africa itself. They are not mixed, they are simply African shaped by different climates and adaptations. But here is where the problem begins. Colonial narrative came in and told us that beauty equals lightness and authenticity equals darkness, and now we find ourselves fighting each other with the very language and categories designed by our colonizers. During colonization, European anthropologists tried to catalog human beings like insects. They created heritage of color. They used terms like Negro, Caucasoid, and Moligon to divide humanity into pseudo scientific boss. And Africa, of course, became the testing ground for the racist theories. When colonizers arrived in Africa and saw people of lighter complexion, they couldn't process the fact that lightness existed without them, so they claimed those groups were mixed with Arab or European blood. It was their way of maintaining superiority. The closer to whiteness, the closer to civilization. But what is ironic is that African diversity predates European colonialism by tens of thousands of years. Different regions, climates, and migration created a kaleidoscope of complexion long before the first colonizers ever set foot on the continent. Yet those colonial categories stuck. Even today in African societies themselves, colorism lingers. Lighter skin is still often praised, darker skin still sometimes marginalized, and on the flip side, light-skinned Africans are now being told they are not black enough. It's a strategic circle of confusion, all born from the same colonial seed. Now, let's talk about the diaspora. Scientifically, black Americans, many of us who grew up in America, had very simplified view of color. You were either dark-skinned, light-skinned, or red-bone. That is it. That wasn't a nuanced understanding of undertones, regional variation, or the vast spectrum of black skin that exists globally, and that is understandable. The environment shaped it. Black Americans were grouped together in a society that weaponized color against them, and over time, internal heritage formed, so terms like yellow bone, red bone, and dark skin became part of the cultural language. But then, when some of these same black Americans travel to Africa, the perception gets flipped on its head. they realized that their version of dark skin in the US might be considered medium or even light in Nigeria or Ghana, because in Africa, where everyone is black, there are thousands shades of melania. You suddenly see how relative color really is. That is a viral story of someone who said, "I didn't know I wasn't dark skinned until I went to Nigeria." And that line is powerful because it shows how geography defies perception. In America, where blackness is seen against whiteness, you define yourself by contrast. In Africa, where everyone shares the same ancestry roots, you define yourself by diversity within that root. You start to see just how rich, varied, and layered black really is. Let's zoom in again on real Africa example. Take the Fulani spread across West Africa from Senegal to Nigeria. The ancestry is deeply Africa, going back to early Swahili populations. Their skin tones range from deep chocolate to light bronze, and their features often get stereotyped as non-Africa, when in fact they are part of the oldest pastoralist groups on the continent. Then there is the Tutsi in Rwanda and Burundi, the Tura in the Sahara, the Eritreans and the Ethiopians in the Horn. These are indigenous populations shaped by millennia of adaptation to their environment. None of them needed foreign DNA to look the way they do. What we call mixed features, slim noses, weevil hair, lighter tone, can all appear naturally in Africa because Africa is the genetic home of all human diversity. The first human involved there, and from Africa came every skin tone on earth. That is not just poetic, that is genetic fact. So when someone says the light-skinned Africa must be mixed, what they are really revealing is how narrow their understanding of human variation is. They are thinking through a Western lens, not an African one. Let's talk about the emotional part. Colorism is not just academic, it's personal, painful, and perspective. In Africa, lighter skin often still carries privilege in media, in marriage, in marketing. Bleaching cream sell by millions because the colonial handover told generations that lighter meant better. Yet now on social media, we are watching the opposite argument grow. Light-skinned Africans being told they are not African enough, being accused of being outsiders in their own land. Is the same disease wearing different clothes. For a light-skinned African hearing you are not really Africa, it cuts deep because it's not just an insult, it's an erasure. It denies lineage, ancestry, and belonging. And when those comments come from black people in the diaspora, the irony is brutal. Both groups, Africans and black Americans, are children of the same mother continent, yet still struggling to see one another fully. Colored once again becomes the barrier. Where you grow up shapes how you see yourself. In America, dark skin might mean one thing. In Africa, it means something else entirely. You can be seen as medium tone in Lagos but dark in Atlanta. The sunlight, the people around you, the reference point all shift your self-image. One person shared a story when they went to Nigeria for the first time. They proudly called themselves dark skin. Their Nigerian friends laughed and said, "You are medium tone." That moment of confusion captures how identity shifts with geography. It's not what your skin change, is that your environment change, and with it, the language of how you perceived. That is why color debates online often miss the point. Color is relative, but identity should never be. Let's widen the lens even more. Colorism exists in every colonized society. In Asia, lighter skin is idealized. In Latin America, same story. Mejora la raza, meaning improve the race by marrying lighter. The Caribbean, the US, Africa, all touched by the same poison. So when people online argue about who is really Africa or who is really dark, they are reenacting the same old colonial theaters. The actors change, but the script stays the same. The truth is simple. Africa doesn't owe its diversity to anyone else. Its range of skin tones, features, and languages are the natural result of being the birthplace of humanity. If anything, everyone else is descended from Africa, not the other way around. Now, even for those Africans who are mixed, let's not erase them either. Being mixed doesn't make you less African. Your culture, your roots, and your connection to the continent are valid. Africa is not one look, one language, or one story. It's a continent of 54 nations and over 3,000 ethnic groups. Trying to define Africa by one phenotype is like trying to define music by one instrument. And for those who are light-skinned because of mixed heritage, that is fine too. Your existence doesn't threaten anyone's blackness. Africa has always absorbed and evolved, always been diverse and dynamic. We need to stop treating Africa identity like a exclusive club and start treating it like the family reunion it's supposed to be. It's time to reclaim the conversation about African identity. We need to educate, not just react when someone says light-skinned Africans are mixed. Instead of shouting, we need to teach. We need to bring out the history of Fulani immigration, the genetic of the Horn, the diversity of the Sahel. We need to remind the world that Africa's beauty doesn't need European validation. It existed long before European even had a name. Let's ask the uncomfortable question: who benefits when black people fight over skin tone? Not us. The people who benefit are those who profit from division, cosmetic industries, media industries, and legacy of colonial power itself. As long as we argue among ourselves, the truth remains buried, and the truth is, Africa is the origin. It doesn't need external permission to exist in every shade. So what do we do moving forward? We start by recognizing that color doesn't define culture. You can be dark-skinned African disconnected from African culturally, and you can be a light-skinned African deeply rooted in your heritage. The question isn't what you look like, it's what you know, what you preserve, and how you see yourself. We also need to give grace to each other. Black Americans discovering Africa are unlearning centuries of disconnection. Africans on the continent are unlearning centuries of colonial self-hate. Both are healing from the same wound, just from different sides of the ocean. The enemy is not each other, the enemy is ignorance. At the end of the day, all human skin shell originated in Africa. Everything you see today, white, brown, tan, gold, bronze, all trace back to a single source. So when someone tries to tell a light-skinned African that they aren't African, they are not just wrong, they are erasing the foundation of humanity itself. Africans hold the blueprint, and light-skinned, dark-skinned, or anything in between, we all written in that blueprint.
And if you watched up to this extent, don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So lovelies, why not just share your thought? Subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.